Hi, Representative Hefner. Appreciate you taking the time. When we spoke last, you said that you support, in terms of school vouchers, what's best for students. Do you still hold the same belief now, or has that changed a little bit?
Yeah, so I'll start off, Michael, by saying, look, we have the best schools in the state right here in East Texas. And in those schools, we have the best teachers. And so I think it's important that we take care of our public schools here locally. They're doing a good job. And we had a bill during session, in the fourth special session. It was called HB 1. And in that bill was several $billions for teacher pay raises, for school funding, school safety. There was money for $800 million for special education. There was an inflation rater also built into the average daily allotment, that we would have an automatic increase based on a 10-year average of the consumer price index, so they wouldn't have to come back all the time and relook at, increasing that funding. And so also in that bill was $500 million for an education savings accounts program, where parents could choose to send their kids to a private or use it for curriculum or whatever needs they see fit to best help their family. And so I believe families, parents have a fundamental basic right to do what's best for their family and for their kid. And for some people, that's going to be homeschooling or private school. For the vast majority, especially in East Texas, it's going to be our public schools. They're doing a good job. That's what works for most people, and I think that's probably going to be what continues to work for most families. But parents need to have that flexibility and that freedom to do what's best with their tax dollars for their family.
But sort of going off of that, you mentioned public schools quite a bit in there and the amount of funding they're getting. Would you like to see more funds increased to public or private schools?
I would like to see teachers get paid more. I think that the job that they do is so vitally important to our society, and I think they deserve it. They're doing a lot of work there. They have to deal with a lot of challenges, and they're doing great things. And so I just think it's a profession that does need to be paid better. And I think we had a bill that would have done that, and I think we'll get it done next session. We'll get teachers an increase in pay that they deserve.
Now, I understand that the Texas legislature really prides itself on submitting a balanced budget every year.
Yes.
What would need to be done, or is there anything in particular you'd like to see cut to increase teacher salaries?
Government always has waste, and I think we should always be looking for inefficiencies for programs that may be outdated or not working or not fulfilling their purpose, and so that we're maximizing people's tax dollars and leaving as many of those tax dollars as possible in their pocket so that they can go take care of their families. And so, but our state has been blessed with budget surpluses over the last several years. Last session we had a massive surplus. We gave a lot of that back in property tax relief. We're looking at another $20+ billion surplus coming into this next session, and so we're going to be deciding what to do with that. So there's money there. We need to make sure that when we do these, if we do build in raises or increases for public education, that can be sustained going forward. And but I think we'll be responsible with it and try to put that money where it's needed and give as much back to our taxpayers and property tax relief as we can also.
Now, I want to get to the real meat of this conversation. We've talked about education, but I want to touch on school vouchers. Where would you say you stand on school vouchers? Because I know that it's something that people want to introduce in this legislative session.
So I believe that parents have a fundamental right and freedom to do what's best for their families and for their kids' education. And so I think it's right. We do this for Pell Grants, for the GI Bill, pre-K, Medicaid. These are public dollars that families get to take and decide what's best for their family, where the best deal is on these other kinds of programs. And so the same thing should happen with their education. Parents should be able to choose what best fits their family. For my family, it's homeschooling. That doesn't work for everybody. It's hard. It's a sacrifice. And so I think that families have that basic right and responsibility to do what's best for their kids. And so some people that's going to be a private school, some people that's going to be homeschool. For the most people, it's going to be a public school is what's going to work best for their family.
Let me ask you this. Last year, Governor Abbott endorsed a lot of candidates who supported school vouchers and primaried for them. Is it important enough of an issue, you think, that he should have done that? Is school vouchers that important of an issue to someone like you?
I mean, it's hard to say what people should or shouldn't do in the political world. I mean, he definitely has the freedom to do that. It's something that he believes in, and something they've polled it every which way all over the state. Both sides have polled it, and so I don't get real wrapped up into polls. I know my district. I'm out with my people all the time at events and at church and different things, and so. But I think it's the politics aside. I think the basic truth here is it's just kind of simple. Families should have the right to do what's best for their family, to make those decisions that best work for their family. A little bit of competition is good too. Our society, our whole free market system is built on competition. It makes us more innovative. It makes us more efficient. It makes things cheaper. It makes things better. And so I think that bringing a little competition into the system is not a bad thing. And I think our public schools here in East Texas are going to match up very well. I mean, we're doing that. And so I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of a little bit of competition. I don't believe that my schools are going to suffer because there's going to be this mass exodus. I don't think that's going to happen because our kids are doing a good job here. Our schools are doing a good job here, and parents are pretty pleased with our public schools. But if they do want to send their kid to a local private school or do homeschooling, they should be able to have the freedom to do that.
Let me give you two sides of the same coin. I want to start off, you'll know what the second question is. What could be the biggest positive in your view from school vouchers?
Well, I think we could see possibly better outcomes for these kids. Maybe public school isn't working for them, and maybe they can really succeed or really take off in a different setting that fits their needs. Like I said, our public schools are doing a good job, and that's what's going to work for most folks. But and then maybe our public schools can even find ways to improve and be more innovative, and we should give them the flexibility and the freedom to do that as well.
And likewise, what could be the biggest drawback in your view, if any?
I think we need to make sure that when we do implement it, that it's implemented properly. We don't want to start down a road that doesn't work and hurts our kids. And so I think we've got other states. 38 other states have some form of school choice. Some are broader, some are narrower. So we have a lot of different models to look at. But again, trust in the family, trust in the parents to make the decision that best fits the needs of their household is what we need to be focused on.
Now, is there anything particularly, we've talked about school vouchers broadly, but is there anything particularly you'd like to see done about them this legislative session?
I mean, I think how we roll it out is going to be important. How big we roll it out is going to be a discussion that we're going to work through. How broad, how big the program starts. Do we start small and grow into it? I think it's important that if we're going to have competition within public schools, private schools, and this ESA program, I think we need the same accountability system. Another thing that HB 1 did is it done away with the STAR test and was going to replace that accountability system. Anyone that participated in the ESA program under the new bill would have had the same accountability standards going forward. And so I think it's important that if we're going to have competition that we play by the same rules.
If school vouchers were brought up to a vote on the legislative session, would you vote for it?
I will vote yes. Again, as long as my schools are taken care of, as long as they're funded properly, and as long as we take care of our teachers, I'm supportive of this program because I trust parents to make what's the best choices for their families, and I think they should be able to do that.
Just getting into the specifics a little bit, but what specific funding allocation would you like to see for public schools?
For public schools?
Yeah.
I asked that.
You mentioned them.
Yeah, so I've asked that question. We look at the funding over the past few decades and the increases and where those increases have happened. We see that we've seen more of an increase in the school administration portion than we have in teacher pay raise. And so, you know, my focus is going to be in the classroom. We have had inflation, so buses cost more, gas costs more, things are costing more. We need to take care of custodians and support staff. But the key thing to me, and the most important thing, is those teachers in the classroom that are teaching those kids need to be paid what they're worth.
If there's like a set scale, you know, public education needs to receive X amount of $1 billion, or private education needs to send X amount of $1 billion. Is there a number you have in mind there, or like specific percent? I'm just curious to hear.
You know, I don't know what the number is. I asked that question in committee a couple of weeks ago. People were talking about the funding and where we are, and these were public school people. And I asked what should be our number, and nobody has a clear-cut answer for that. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to school funding, but I think you know, taking care of teachers is where we need to be focused, and then you know, focus on those student outcomes and how they're improving.
When you think about education, you mentioned you'd vote yes on school vouchers, but you know, is there anything else that brings to mind other than increasing teacher raises as well that you'd like to see done to improve education?
I would like to look for ways to give our public schools and our teachers more freedom, more flexibility to teach. You know, they're kind of locked into having to teach to a test, and they don't have a lot of freedom. They have a lot of wiggle room, and so I think we need to look for ways to give them more flexibility to let those teachers, you know, really thrive in their gift. It's a gift. It's a calling, and you know, they need to be able to try different things that work and get those kids interested. You know, get that light bulb to go off, and I know teachers love that, and we need to give them the freedom to find that, and not chain them down with so many rules and regulations.
I'm curious, you mentioned, you know, teachers often teach to a test. Are you referring to college level courses or all courses in general?
Yeah, I'm more referring to the, you know, the STAR test that, you know, parents don't like it, schools, administrators, teachers don't like it, and we have to have accountability. We have to be able to, we're having, these are tax dollars, these are our kids, and we need to make sure that things are being done, that we're succeeding, that we're moving the ball down the field. And so, but we don't need to be so stringent that we lose that freedom and that joy of learning and teaching, because we're so locked into this arbitrary, you know, this test that has all these check marks you have to check off. And so, how we get there is a discussion that we're having. You know, that's why we have these interim hearings. That's why we have an open government process where we have committees, we have people come testify, we have debates, we have discussions, and you know, usually we get to a pretty good place. Not always, but that's our goal in this open process, is to have these discussions, compare ideas, and debate it, and try to do what works best.
While I have you here, I figured I'd ask, you know, what are your priorities in the upcoming legislative session?
You know, next session, this issue is going to be one of the most upfront issues that we're going to be dealing with. Will be public education and school choice. I think property taxes and what we do with this budget surplus. I think we need to be looking at government as a whole. Where can we make government more efficient? Do we have agencies? Do we have programs in place that need to be cut? You know, government naturally grows itself and spends all the money it can get and more. And you know, we need to take a deep dive into the budget and see where we can cut inefficient programs, outdated agencies, things like that, so that we can better serve our people with those tax dollars and leave more of those tax dollars in the taxpayer's pocket as possible.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like for our audience to know?
You know, I just want to reiterate that when we talk about education savings accounts, they're not actually vouchers. They're a little bit different. That I want to restate the importance of the parent's right and the freedom to make the decisions that best suit their family. At the same time, we do need to take care of our public schools here in Northeast Texas. They're doing a good job. They're doing an important work, and teachers need to get paid what they're worth. And they're not now. Some of them are, but there's a shortage there that we need to make up. And I think we can do both. I'm pro-education. I'm pro-public school. I'm pro-private school. I'm pro-homeschool. I'm pro-charter school. I'm for what works for the kid and for the family. And so going forward, I just want to make that as strong as we can and do what's right for our families.